Konnichiwa, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well, everyone. Happy Friday, everyone. And today we're here back with our new Friday game day flight, and we're here in Japan. That's right, we're in the land of the rising sun today for our game day flight. And that's because we're starting baseball season here in Japan, funnily enough. Now, of course, a lot of you guys probably want to know, you all think baseball is America's pastime, and while it is true, in Japan, baseball is its most popular sport. Which is why I wanted to do this game day flight here in Japan. So I hope you're all having a good day here today and enjoying this flight. Today we're going to be covering one of Japanese baseball's most bitter rivalries, the Hanshin Tigers and the Yomiuri Giants, two of Japan's most historic baseball teams dating back all the way back to the 1930s. So I hope you're all doing well here. We're starting here in Kobe today. We're at Kobe Airport, Romeo Juliet Bravo Echo, and we're here to do some really nice flying. So before we get started, I do want to say hello to everyone in the chat and all the lurkers. I hope you're all having a good day here today. So there's definitely a lot of stuff going on here today. And we got some stuff going on. So here's where we're going to do our flight plan for this afternoon stream. We're going to start here in Kobe Airport. We'll travel to the city of Kobe. We'll fly on here for a bit. Then from there, we'll head east. We'll visit the historic Hanshin Koshien Stadium, home of the Tigers since 1934. Then from there, we'll enter into downtown Osaka. We'll enter Osaka. We'll visit the Kosira Dome, home of the Oryx Buffaloes. Then we'll go up to Osaka Castle, fly over here in downtown Osaka. Then from there, we'll head up north to Kyoto, the imperial capital of Japan, the old imperial capital. Then we'll head east and we'll make our first stop at Nagoya Airport, Romeo Juliet November Alpha. Then after there, we're going to go ahead and go east. We're going to visit Vantalian Dome, Nagoya, the home of the Chunchuin Dragons. And then we'll go east. We'll fly over near to Mount Fuji, and we'll land at Gotemba Airport, Romeo Juliet Golf Oscar. And then from there, we'll head over east. We'll enter into the Tokyo metro area. We'll start in Yokohama. We're going to check out Yokohama Stadium, home of the DNA Baystars. Then we'll head up north through Kawasaki. We'll enter into Tokyo. We'll visit Meiji Jingu Baseball Stadium, home of the Yakuit Swallows, the local rival of the Yomiuri Giants. Then we'll visit the Imperial Palace. Then, of course, we'll fly into the Tokyo Dome, home of the Yomiuri Giants. Then from there, we'll head over, fly into Tokyo Sea Lake Park in Tokyo Disneyland. Then we'll go east to Zozo Marine Stadium, home of the Chiba Lotte Marines. And then we'll fly to Chiba, and then we'll make our stop here at Tokyo Narita Airport. Then we'll stop at Narita Airport in Tokyo. So that's going to be our flight. Quite a bit of stuff going on here today. We're going to take the Diamond DA-62 here for today. I like the Diamond DA-62. Really nice aircraft. Great aircraft for this sort of flying here today. Let's see how much fuel we're going to need. We'll go 59% fuel. I think we can this thing start. Master, avionics master on. So we'll get that. So there we go. We got started. So yeah, I set the temperature to be early this morning. It is the rising sun after all. Being the land of the rising sun, we'll set this to sunrise, of course. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and taxi to beginning of the runway here to Kobe. So Kobe, by the way, guys, if you don't know about Kobe, Japan, so Kobe, this historic city here in Osaka Bay, is a population of 1.5 million people. It's Japan's 7th largest city and the 3rd largest port city in the country. This city, located in Kansai, is the north shore of the Hanshin metro area, along with Kyoto and Osaka. This city is actually a pretty newer city in Japan, but Kobe first became official record in 201 AD. However, it didn't become a city until all the way back in 1889. Much more recently, Kobe was one of the cities open to trade with the West in 1853, and has retained its cosmopolitan character ever since, with a rich architectural heritage dating back to the Meiji era in Japan. However, this area was devastated by the infamous earthquake in 1995, which over 6,000 people were killed, 212,000 homeless, and large part of the port and other parts of the city being destroyed. But Kobe is a really neat city. It's of course, Kobe is also where Kobe beef is most famous product of the city is Kobe beef. It's also home to Japan's first golf course, its first mosque, and of course it has one major team being the Oryx Buffaloes. So we'll take off here very shortly. So we're going to go ahead and get this going. We're going to go ahead and take off here. $49.50, and we can get up now. Hey, Show Dev, good to see you. Good to see you there. Thank you, Typhon. Yeah, I kind of figured it out. My engine was. Hey, good to see you, Shorodev. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well, Shorodev. We're here in Japan today for Japanese baseball. Believe it or not, I've actually been wanting to do Japanese baseball for a while. Ever since the end of the original Play Ball series happened. I was wanting to do some Japanese baseball, but I couldn't do it. I didn't do it. But I felt like today would be a good day to do it, of course. So we're going to visit the city of Kobe, which I think got a Japanese city update. Yeah, I think I got a city update. For the most recent Japanese city update for MSF's 2020. Yeah, it was World Update 20. They updated Japan again, so it's been a while since I've flown in the new update. But they added some new photogrammetry areas to Hiroshima, Kyoto, Osaka, and Tokyo, and that also includes Kobe by extension. So, fantastic. Oh, fantastic, Sordev. You're rocking this afternoon. Oh, that sounds pretty good, pretty interesting today. So this is Kobe, funnily enough. Now, I know some of you guys have been wanting to ask me about any differences between baseball in Japan versus the U.S. So this is Kobe. Absolutely gorgeous. Look how beautiful the city looks, man. This is crazy. You guys all want to know why I love flying in Japan. Japan's one of my favorite areas in the sim. So we're going to go ahead and turn right. We're going to go a little bit slow over Kobe and stuff. We're going to go a little slower than normal. Actually, could I keep the 1,500 feet? I guess I could. Get a little down, a little lower. So there are some pretty important differences between baseball in Japan and the United States. There's actually some major comparisons. But basically, for those who don't know, Japan absolutely loves baseball. Japanese baseball, baseball is is the most popular sport in Japan. Even though sumo is technically the national sport, baseball is a massive deal in the country. And you basically have a hard time not finding any place else. So we'll be visiting, we're going to visit, of course, the Hanshin Koshin Stadium. Now, this stadium is the historic home of the Hanshin Tigers, dating back to 1924, even before the Tigers even existed. Very old stadium, rich history, of course. It's appeared a lot in fiction and stuff. Think of this stadium as the Fenway Park of Japanese baseball. It's a very old stadium, dripping with history. Yeah, beautiful morning here today. I mean, look at the skyline here. This is, oh, Japan. Oh man, like some of these scenes are going to be really exciting to fly over in the sim. They're going to be really exciting. Oh yeah, and yeah, Nagoya is Hiroshima and all that. And oh yeah, they also did Osaka Castle. So this should be very exciting to see. So that's basically what it's going to be. So Japanese baseball, anyway. If you guys want to know about Nippon baseball, let's go ahead and put the slide up for today. Nippon Professional Baseball, the NPB, is the highest level of Japanese baseball. It's called Puroyaku, meaning professional baseball, and the roots of this league can trace back to the Greater Japan Tokyo Baseball Club in 1934. And it's the first professional circuit for the sport in Japan. The Japanese Baseball League was founded 2 years later, and then the two teams merged in 1950. There are 12 teams divided equally into two leagues, the Central League and the Pacific League, a format that's largely been kept the same since 1957. Of course, it has it had several ways of expansion and contraction, and sometimes even at the same time. Most recently, that happened in 2005 when the Osaka Buffaloes merged with the Oryx Blue Wave to form the Oryx Buffaloes. So yeah, Japanese baseball has been pretty turbulent since its years. Also, unlike U.S. baseball, and one very big difference, of course, is that Japanese baseball is mainly corporate. They are generally named after their corporate owners, unlike North American leagues. Speaking of which, of course, we're about to arrive into Koshin Stadium, home of the Hanshin Tigers. I definitely think this is going to put photograms. There it is, guys. The historic baseball home of the Hanshin Tigers. Here it is. We're going to turn off our autopilot, and we're going to fly a bit. We're going to go down and fly a little bit closer. So there it is, guys. Koshin Stadium. So I'm going to go ahead and put the... yeah, perfect. Back to pause. So this is Koshin Stadium, and it looks absolutely incredible. So this is Koshin Stadium, by the way, the historic home of the Tigers. And yes, it's called the Fenway Park of Japan. As you can tell. Let me circle right back around. So yeah, this is Koshin Stadium. Home of the... So yeah, there is the historic baseball stadium. Looks absolutely insane in 2024. So yeah, here's a closer look at this ballpark. So yeah, this is the historic home of the Hanshin Tigers. Very cool stadium. This stadium is actually a pretty big one too. It could seat up to 60. It seats 47,000 now. Yeah, it's an absolutely impressive stadium, even by Major League Baseball standards. So we're gonna go ahead and head to Osaka now. This will be my first time visiting Osaka since the World Update. So it's been a while since we visited, of course. And yes, like I said earlier, baseball in Japan are actually, a lot of teams are named after the corporate sponsors. For example, the Hanshin Tigers, who will be visiting today, are actually owned by the Hanshin Electric Railway Company. The Yomiuri Giants, the most famous team, well, they're owned by the Yomiuri Shimbun Holdings, Japan's largest media conglomerate, and along many others. So yes, a lot of teams in Japan are owned by corporates. Hey, do you fly the airliners? I do. I fly them mainly off stream. Yes, I do fly airliners, but mainly off stream. But that said, when I get back from vacation, I'll do one of the days will be a mixed stream.
Someone was detected at your front door.
I'll be doing a mixed source streams and stuff. So this here is Osaka, the beautiful city of Osaka, Japan, which is the capital most populous city of its own prefecture, and it's Japan's third most populous city with 2.8 million people. Osaka was once considered Japan's traditional economic hub. It's rich. It has Japan's richest food scene. Of course, Osaka is Japan's food city. It's also rich in sports. It's home of the Oryx Buffaloes baseball team, which resulted from a merger between the Osaka Buffaloes and the Oryx Blue Wave. Pretty notable here. So Osaka is definitely a pretty neat city. Lots of rich culture, tons of museums and galleries all over. And the Osaka Dome is where the baseball team plays. So here we go, guys. So this is the Osaka Dome here in Osaka, Japan. So here it is, guys. Really cool. And then we'll turn left and we'll visit Osaka Castle. One of Japan's most famous landmarks, of course. One of the most famous landmarks in the country. But I mean, Japan's got so many of them picked. But Osaka looks absolutely insane. Wow. You know, it's been ages since I've flown to Japan. And it makes me want to do some airliner stuff in Japan because I absolutely love flying in Japan. It's one of my favorite areas in the sim to fly. I just love Japan. It's beautiful in the sim. The GA series, gorgeous in Japan with the mountains and islands. It's gorgeous by GA. It's great to fly the airliners too. Some really fun routes to fly for the airliners too. Like I said, Japan's my favorite country in Asia to fly. And the update, man. And here's Osaka Castle. Wow, that is. Look at the state of that with the rising sun too. So this is Osaka Castle. Absolutely incredible. Oh man. Look at the state of that. Hey, oh yeah, the cherry trees are out in the sim too. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot Blackheart. Yes, the cherry trees. Woo! Oh, you're not kidding. Look at the cherry blossoms, man. That is just epic. Too cool. Too cool, man. Just too cool. So we're gonna climb up to around we're gonna climb up to 2,000 feet. So we're gonna go an additional 500 feet. So speaking about Japanese baseball, the Nippon Baseball League, there are some important differences between the two. One of the biggest differences between Japanese baseball and American baseball, some of the rules are different. And while the rules of NPB are basically those of Major League Baseball, there are some technical elements that are very different. One very big difference in terms of rules, the Japanese baseball has a much smaller strike zone and playing field are much smaller. And five of these baseball teams whose small dimensions would violate baseball rules in America. Also, unlike North American baseball, there are ties in Japanese baseball. Yes, Japanese baseball games can end in ties. If the score is tied after 9 innings of play, up to 3 additional innings are played, and that also includes the playoffs as well, and postseason games up to Game 7 are also tied. And if there's no winner after 12 innings, the game is declared a tie. So yes, ties are a thing. Also in Japanese baseball, teams play for 143 games a year, not the even 162 games. And also, unlike North American Baseball's World Series, the Japanese series can actually play more than 7 games in a series if there are multiple ties in the series. At one point, there has been a Game 8 in 1986. And also in addition, unlike American baseball, Japanese baseball is mainly more contact focused, while American baseball is more power focused. And Japanese teams practice a lot more, with more off-speed pitching, not many fastballs, and more focus on team harmony. So basically, Japan's basically more defensive. American baseball's more on the offensive side of things. But yeah, there's some pretty big differences between the two. Now, of course, in my Discord, I did put a video on showing what a Japanese baseball game is kind of like. But the atmosphere and stuff is quite different from American baseball. But I definitely think it is really cool to take a look at all of those things here as well. So that's kind of a bit of the differences between the two. So let's go ahead and go over next slide. Of course, there are two league structures, the Central League and the Pacific League. One major difference between the two is that there are also two secondary minor leagues, just like American baseball. However, unlike Major League Baseball, the Central League and Pacific League actually operate as its own separate entities, which is unlike the major sports in North America and the South Korean Baseball League. As a result, TV rights for games are always held by a game's home team, except for the Japan series and the All-Star games. And following the conclusion of each season, the top 3 teams from each league go to play for the Climax Series playoff tournament, which is similar to the American League and National League Championship playoffs for those leagues. And the winner of each tournament will face off in a best-of-7 series known as the Japan Series. Which is basically their version of the World Series for Japanese baseball. So, very important to know about how the structure works. So, in some ways, it is similar to Major League Baseball, but there is some very important differences between the two, as you guys will find out pretty shortly. Of course, next is the financial problems. And again, unlike Major League Baseball, which has had way more financial stability, Japanese baseball, the Nippon baseball, professional baseball, has always been plagued with financial issues. It's believed that all teams are operating with considerable subsidiaries, as much as nearly 6 billion yen, which is around $44 million from their parent companies. A raise in salaries of players is often blamed, but from the start of the professional league, the parent companies paid the difference as an advertisement. Most teams have never tried to improve their finances through constructive marketing. In addition, teams from the Central League are more popular than the Pacific League due to having some of the more popular teams. So American baseball isn't corporate owned. It's much more by a single owner rather than being corporate. So, of course, the number of metropolitan areas represented increased from 4 to 5 in 1988. And all that. Of course, until 1993, baseball was the only team sport played in Japan. However, when the Japanese League, J-League, happened, bringing soccer, the new league plays teams in prefecture capitals around the country. And finally, of course, there's also been a wave of players moving to Major League Baseball, which began with Hideo Nomo. With the help of his agent, Don Norma, explored a loophole when he retired from the Buffaloes and signed with the Dodgers, added some more financial problems as teams lost their marketable players, leaving while TV ratings declined as viewers turned to broadcasts of American Major League Baseball games. So in order to prevent players from leaving to play in North America, the Japanese Baseball and MLB agreed on a posting system for players under contract. MLB teams wishing to negotiate where the player submits bids for a posting fee, which the winning MLB team would pay the Japanese team if the player signs. Free agents aren't subject to the posting system, however, some teams almost never post their players. So as a result, they're trying to find ways to get around their financial problems, as Japanese baseball has historically suffered. That's why Japanese baseball has had many expansions, contractions, and all that. It's because, well, Japanese baseball is much less financially stable. Of course, one interesting thing about Japanese baseball, Nippon Professional Baseball, the NPB, has been a lot of expat players. For most of its histories, regulations have imposed a Gajin Waku, which basically is a limit on the number of non-Japanese players per team to 2 or 3, including the manager and coaching staff. Even today, a team cannot have more than 4 foreign players on a 25-game roster, although there is no limit to the number of foreign players that it may sign. Nonetheless, of course, expat players in Japan have been a feature of this league since 1934, and hundreds of foreigners, including particularly Americans, have actually played in the league. In fact, some of the most well-known players, expats that have played, included Taiwanese nationals like Jose Go and Hiroshi Oshida starred in the 1940s. And of course, American players. In fact, American players have actually hold several records in the league, and most notably from Randy Bass, who we'll talk about at some point in the future. But and of course, Koreans had an impact in the league as well. Several Koreans have had importance, and as well as Venezuelans as well, mainly Alex Ramirez and Alex Cabrera. In fact, and also many of the most celebrated foreign players came to Japan after not finding success in the major leagues, which is known as an expression called "big in Japan." Finally, since the 70s, foreigners have also played an impact with managing and coaching ranks, with Americans Bobby Valentine and Trey Hillman managing their teams to Japan Series championships. So, yes, foreign players have actually played a big role in shaping Japanese baseball, just like how foreigners have shaped American baseball too. So in terms of the most successful teams in Japanese baseball, so we're about to arrive into Kyoto for a bit. So this here is the city of Kyoto. Kyoto is a population of 1.4 million people, Japan's 9th most populous city. Kyoto is most famously known for being chosen as the seat of Japan's imperial court in 794, and it lasted all the way to as the capital of Japan until 1869, when it was moved to Edo, which is now known as Tokyo. Unlike many other Japanese cities, the city was spared from large-scale destruction during World War II, so much of its pre-war heritage still remained in Japan. And it's the cultural capital of Japan and a very popular tourist destination here in Japan. Home to numerous Buddhist shrines, Buddhist temples, Shinto shrines, palaces and gardens, and many of which are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Also featured there include the Kyoto Imperial Palace, the Kiyomizu-dera, and the Kinkaku-ji. And of course, Nintendo is also based in Kyoto. So this here is Kyoto, of course. So down below, of course, to our left, this is Kyoto National Garden. And the Imperial Palace is located around here too. So if we take a closer look. So we can see the Imperial Palace from down below. Like I said, and here it is, guys. This is the Kyoto Imperial Palace. So right here is the Kyoto Imperial Palace down below. So this was where the emperors used to be at. For over 1,000 years, this is where the Japanese court and all that ended up being. In this area. And you have the fine gardens and all that, but absolutely gorgeous today. The cherry blossoms, man, that's absolutely stunning. Okay, we're going to be climbing to 5,000 feet. We're going to have some significant climb, of course. So we're going to go ahead and make a climb. So, yes, Kyoto, very historic city, absolutely gorgeous, and again, the land of the rising sun It will be Ryzen when we visit, of course. So, as for me at least, as for us, of course, we have our last game day flight. We covered Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid. So if you guys want a coverage on that, which happened on Sunday, of course. It was a big game for Real Madrid, and they got the 3-2 win over Atletico. They got revenge for earlier in the year. It was thanks to a brace by Vinicius Jr., got the brace for them, and Real Madrid got a very big win at home to not only separate themselves from Atletico Madrid, but get themselves just a bit closer to Barcelona. Which looks like Barcelona might just be run away with the La Liga title at this point here in Spain. Of course, baseball season just started 2 days ago with the Giants and the Yankees, which the Yankees won the first game 7-0 on Wednesday. And of course, the rest of the league had their opening days yesterday. The Reds lost to the Red Sox 3-0. But to me, the most surprising result yesterday, of course, was the Nationals absolutely obliterating the Cubs the first game of the year, 10-4. Yes, the Washington Nationals actually won. Can you guys believe it? The freaking Nationals. But yeah, it was a big, big win for the Washington Nationals, of course. Multiple players got an RBI, and that's helped them win here today. And speaking about our game day flight, well, for Nippon Baseball, of course, well, their season got started today, technically. Got their season started today, of course. Got their season started. Of course, this is a 3-game series. And so far, the Yomiuri Giants took the first game against the Tigers in their 3-game series so far. 3-1. Good start for the Giants, of course. They're off to a flying start. Big time win for the Giants, of course. I'm also following, but the Japanese baseball team I'm following this year, and what I may be following, is the Hiroshima Toyo Carp. And that's because their uniforms were inspired by the Cincinnati Reds, which is my local team. So that's why I picked them. They beat the Chunichi Dragons 6-5. So pretty big stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about our first team, the Hanshin Tigers. Let's go ahead and cover our first team in Japan. The Hanshin Tigers, of course, one of Japan's most famous teams, dating back to 1935. They play here in Nishinomiya in Higo Prefecture, next to their main stadium of Hanshin Koshin Stadium. They're home by the Hanshin Electric Railway Company, which is a subsidiary of the Hanku Hanshin Holdings Incorporated, which is a multinational company. And that company itself owns many other properties, not just transportation segment, but they also own the Toho Company, which, of course, Toho is where Godzilla was made. Yes, so they also own, Toyo Group also owns Godzilla. So pretty cool stuff. But the Hanshin Tigers, rich history, of course. They're one of the oldest clubs in Japan. And their first season was in 1936 as the Osaka Tigers, and then changed their name in 1961. But they are one of Japan's most historic baseball teams. They've won 2 Japan Series titles in 1985 and 2023. They won the Central League pennant 7 times and appeared in the playoffs 13 times in their history. And of course, they wear their colors: yellow, black, and white are their team colors. So, very historic baseball team. And the picture here, of course, was their most recent pennant success, of course. But the Tigers have a very, very rich history. Pretty cool stuff. And of course, they play at one of the most historic stadiums in Japanese baseball, the Koshien Stadium. Now, of course, we visited here earlier in the stream, but this historic stadium dated back to 1924. It was actually built to host the National High School Baseball tournaments at the time. And the name itself, Koshien, comes from the said year when it was rendered as the first pairing of its system of the stems and branches system, Koshi, or known as wood rat. At the time, it was the largest stadium in Asia when it was completed, with a capacity of 55,000. And the stadium design was actually inspired by the Polo Grounds in New York. Which, if you guys weren't aware about the Polo Grounds at the time, and if you guys recommend the baseball series, I actually have the VODs for the baseball series on my YouTube, which date back to the Polo Grounds. But basically, for those that aren't aware about it, the Polo Grounds were used to be the home of the New York Giants, the New York Yankees, and the Mets from 1890 to 1964. And that ballpark was a very unique stadium. It was truly unique. And it also hosted other events too. It also hosted American football. It hosted NCAA baseball games, a concert. But the Polo Grounds were very, very unique baseball ground. I mean, the dimensions at center field, by the way, 483 feet. But the lines, which the right and left field lines, can go as short as 258 feet. So basically, the lines are shallow. Then, if you get to the faraway parts of the field, it was extremely deep. Which was absolutely insane. It was an insane stadium. But Koshien Stadium, in addition to hosting National High School Baseball Championships, it also hosts its own tournaments too. And it also hosts the Koshien Bowl, which is Japan's American College Football Championship. Yes, that's right. American baseball has. This team has also hosted college football. Pretty crazy, right? And finally, and one interesting piece of history a lot of people don't know, was Babe Ruth when he visited the stadium during his exhibition game during his tour in Japan, and they still have a plaque for it that commemorates this legendary event. And finally, most importantly, due to its reputation for high school baseball, this stadium is very famous for many baseball manga series, including Touch, Cross Game, and H2 by Mitsuru Adachi, and other works too. But yeah, very neat stadium, very historic ground for baseball. That's why I say it's the Fenway Park of Japanese baseball, because it is rich with history, of course. So next, of course, is the Hanshin Tigers. Now, for much of their late 80s, they had a bit of a curse, just like the Red Sox. They were the lovable losers of Japanese baseball. And of course, there was a curse that happened with the Tigers back in 1985 when they won the Century Pennant. And when they won the pennants, many fans celebrated by having people that looked like Tigers players jump into the Dotonbori Canal. Of course, according to legend at the point, because none of the fans resembled the American first baseman at the time, Randy Bass, the Japanese fans grabbed a life-size statue of the KC mascot Colonel Sanders and threw it into the river. Because like Bass, the Colonel had a beard and was not Japanese. Of course, the Tigers did defeat the Seibu Lions in the Japan Series in 1985. However, after many seasons after the incident, they had been without a pennant, and the Tigers were doomed never to win until the Colonel was rescued from the river. Of course, in 2003, the Tigers did manage to go back to the Japan Series in 18 years, but again, they failed to win the Japan Series. But of course, the Colonel Sanders statue was actually finally recovered in 2009, and then they found the bottom half and right hand shortly after in the canal by construction workers. However, it's still missing his left-handed glasses. However, since then, of course, they made the Japan Series in 2024. And thankfully for Tigers fans, the curse was finally broken in 2023 when they defeated their local rival, the Oryx Buffaloes, in the Japan Series in 2023, 4-3. But yes, they had their own bit of a sports curse. So yeah, sports curses aren't exactly new to baseball, whether it's the United States baseball with the curse of the Bambino, or in this case, the curse of the Colonel. So yes, the picture you have here on the right is actually the same Colonel that they managed to find in the river. So, pretty cool. Of course, the Hanshin Tigers are considered by many to be the most passionate fans in all of Japanese baseball. And they often outnumber the home team fans during their away games, and Tigers fans have always had known for a reputation for rough behavior and a willingness to brawl with other fans or with each other, though nowadays fights are actually pretty rare. A famous fan tradition is the release by the fans of hundreds of air-filled balloons immediately following the 7-inning stretch and the singing of their fight song. And this tradition is carried on all home and away games, except the games in the Tokyo Dome, due to the fact the Giants had very authoritarian, heavy-handed rules to control behavior. And of course, the rivalry with the Giants, which is why we're doing this, is considered the national Japanese baseball rivalry, which is comparable to the the Dodgers and Giants and the Yankees-Red Sox rivalries in Major League Baseball, or Spain's El Clasico. But these two are very passionate and historic teams, of course, so it's not really that much of a surprise to see their fan base. But yeah, Japanese baseball fans, very passionate. But yeah, Japanese baseball game definitely very unique. The culture and stuff is very, very different. They do lots of noise, cheers, and all that, make it very unique to Japanese baseball. They even have their own fight song, which was composed by Yuri Koseki, very popular in the area, and mainly the song is based around the Tigers' brave challenge under hardship. So pretty neat stuff. And then finally, of course, to top out the Tigers a bit, are some of their most famous players. And the top one, one of their greatest players of all time was actually an American, funnily enough, Randy Bass, of course. Interesting story about him. He actually hails all the way from Lawton, Oklahoma. So he actually started his American baseball career as a Minnesota Twin during the 7th round, and he actually played 6 years in the major leagues. However, he was never an everyday player. He was on the bench to pinch hit, and he only had a .212 batting average, 325 at bats, and 9 home runs. So he didn't have much of a major league career. However, when his contract expired in 1982, he joined the Japanese Baseball League. And he completely became almost a different kind of player in Japan. And made him their first starting first baseman, and completely turned the fortunes of the entire franchise, which led him to their Japan Series title in 1985. He adapted quickly to Japanese pitching, and he became a completely different beast of a baseball player. The dude, his first season, hit 35 home runs in his first season in Japanese baseball. He won 4 straight league batting titles. He almost became the first player in Japan to bat 400 in a season, which is actually pretty crazy to think about it. In fact, his record was with 3.9 average, which is actually impressive considering this record is still the record in Japanese baseball. Not even Ichiro has ever come that close. And if you guys don't know about Ichiro Suzuki is one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And he won multiple batting title triple crowns in baseball. And in fact, he came this close to breaking Sadaharu O's record of 55 home runs in a season. Unfortunately, the Giants had to intentionally walk Bass, which was kind of scummy if you ask me. However, then he was released by the Tigers in 1988, returned to the United States, but he ended up being retired, of course. But he became one of the greatest foreigners to ever play in Japan, and the dude became a member of the Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame in 2023, and rightfully so. He is one of their greatest players of all time. His career stats: 337 batting average, 202 home runs, and 486 RBIs. But truly one of the greatest foreign players in Japanese baseball history. Now, for some of the more homegrown talents of the game, one of the first ones I mentioned is Fumio Fujimura. Mr. Tiger himself played for his entire career for the franchise from 1936 to 1958. He became both a player and a manager. He mainly started as a pitcher, actually, as a stellar right-handed pitcher. However, just like Babe Ruth, he eventually became his greatest fame as a hitting machine. Of course, he did, however, miss some time for baseball because, of course, World War II happened, and of course, you all know about Japan's in World War II. But he became an absolutely successful hitter, as he hit 224 home runs, 300 batting average, nearly 1,700 hits, and all of it 1,126 RBIs. He hit for the cycle twice, actually, and even took home the Japanese baseball MVP in 1949. And of course, he was also a stellar pitcher too, but mainly it's his hitting. Then afterwards is Minoru Murayama. Became their successful pitcher. His number was also retired, and became probably their greatest pitcher, as he had over 222 wins, ERA of 209. He had 55 shutouts, and pitched over 3,000 innings as a pitcher. Very strong talent, of course. Being incredible talent, and of course is one of their great players in Japanese baseball. And the last of the numbers retired, of course, is Yoshio Yoshida, and spent his entire career at the club from 1953 to 1969, and then he became a multiple-time manager at the club. And mainly he played, of course, the shortstop position with over 1,800 hits, 267 batting average, and he also became a winning manager too in 1985. And he won the best 9 award in Nippon baseball 9 times. So some of the other notable greats of the Tigers include that of Masasaki Takefu, Yutaka Inatsu, Kyuki Fujikawa, Takashi Toritani, and many more are some of the most famous legends of the Hanshin Tigers. But yeah, some very, very famous talents for the team. So, pretty impressive players, of course, throughout their history. But yeah, pretty impressive though. So many great players of the game here. So we'll be landing in Romeo Juliet November Alpha very soon, of course. So I hope you guys are enjoying this stream. We stream twice a week. As for after vacation, I actually wanted to let you guys know what's going to happen after vacation. There are a couple changes going on. First, we'll be doing 3 days a week again. I wanted to do an additional day of streaming on Wednesday for the time being, so we'll go to 3 days a week. And secondly, and more importantly, there would be a schedule change for the schedule. So all streams for once we get back on vacation will be at 1500 Zulu. Yes, I actually want to start earlier in the day, not later, but earlier in the day. That way I have a consistent schedule of what time of the day I want to start streaming, and I thought streaming a bit earlier would probably do me a bit of good if I streamed a little bit earlier in the day. So I think that's what I'm going to do moving forward. I hope you guys are okay with that, and I thought I wanted to let you guys know now before later on. But all this will come to effect when I return home. When I return home, April 25th, I believe. Or when I return back from the stream pretty soon. So. So here we go, guys. Nagoya Airport. We'll be making our first land of the day here. So this here is Nagoya. So Nagoya is located in Shubu. It's the largest city in the central region of Japan, and Japan's fourth most populous city, with a population of 2.3 million people. And its population of its metro area, which is around 10 million people. It's home to the largest seaport in Japan, and it dates back to 1610 when the shogun Tokugawa Ieyasu moved the capital from Kyoto to Nagoya. And of course, it grew even more in the 1900s thanks to a convergence of different economic factors that restored rapid growth of the city during the Meiji Restoration. And it became the industrial hub of the country for the area's automobile, aviation, and shipbuilding industries, as well as the traditional manufacturing of bicycles, sewing machines, and timepieces. And later on, ceramics, oil, and steel. And as a result, Nagoya was bombed quite a bit by American air raids during the Pacific War. After World War II, of course, it became still a major area for industry and transport. Of course, it is automotive industry still the largest industry in the city, and mainly it's Toyota. So really cool stuff. It's also got a rich aviation history. The A6M Sierra was built here during World War II, was manufactured here, and it still continues nowadays with the Mitsubishi Regional Jet, which was once produced here. Ceramics were important in more technology stuff. In terms of culture, of course, the city is a pretty important one for culture and stuff. It has quite a few museums, most notably Osaka Castle's got tons of really cool museums and stuff. The Tokugawa Art Museum was found there too. One really neat place to visit here in Nagoya is definitely sports, and they do have a professional baseball team, the Chunichi Dragons. Pretty old franchise, dating back to 1936. And yes, their logo looks a lot like the Dodgers, of course. Their uniforms are basically similar to that of the Brooklyn Dodgers in the blue and whites. And that team is also most famous for pop culture because it was featured for U.S. audiences in Mr. Baseball, the 1992 movie that featured Tom Selleck and Ken Takamura. Which was pretty cool though, for a baseball movie if you guys never heard of it. So yes, this is definitely one of the country's more famous teams. And Larry Doby also played baseball here too, and Don Newcomb. But pretty cool though. Nagoya is a neat city. And Nagoya is also where Firefly Air has its hub, but it's not in this airport. It's actually further south at Cinch Air Airport. Cinch Air Airport's Firefly Air's main hub in the city, of course. So we're going to go ahead and get down and get ready to fly to our next leg at Gotemba Airport here in Gotemba. So our heading for this one's going to be 173 degrees. We're gonna fly up to 8,000 feet for this leg. So and we're up, and we're going. So here we go. So we're about to fly into downtown Nagoya, of course. Really neat city though. Nagoya is a very underrated Japanese city because it gets overlooked because you have Osaka, Kobe, and Kyoto to the country's west, and then east you obviously have Tokyo. So Nagoya kind of gets overlooked, but I tell you, it's still a really cool city to explore, and more importantly too, Nagoya's got some really cool stuff. And by the way, they play in the Nagoya Dome, which seats up to 36,000 people. And it's pretty new, dating back to 1997. So it's also known officially as the Vantolin Dome Nagoya. So we'll see if the stadium's in the sim or not. But yeah, I don't know why Nagoya is not photogrammetry. I thought it being one of Japan's biggest cities, I thought would get it. So here it is. This is the Nagoya Dome. Well, that is the home of the Chunichi Dragons. So we're going to go ahead and turn left. So we'll climb up to 8,000 feet. So in terms of Japanese baseball, Nippon baseball, of course, in terms of the most successful teams in Japanese baseball, the most successful team in the Nippon baseball is the Yomiuri Giants, with 22 of them are the most successful team in Japanese baseball. They've also been runners 14 times. Then the second most successful team has been the Saitama Seibu Lions, with 13 of them. And by the way, they won the vast majority of their championships in the 80s and 90s in a period between 1982 to 1992. 10 years of dominance. And then the third most successful team is in Fukuoka, the SoftBank Hawks, having won 12 of them. And they mainly have been dominant since the 2010s, have been the most dominant team in Japan since the 2010s. Then you have the Yakuit Swallows with 6. And then the fifth one is the Oris Buffaloes with 5. So pretty important stuff here too. Pretty cool stuff, though. Japanese baseball have had a lot of differences. So pretty cool. So we're going to climb it to 8,000 feet for this leg. Oh, 1,300 feet for each. I'm going to go ahead and introduce. So we're going to go ahead and cover the next baseball team, the Yomiuri Giants. This is the second team here we're going to be covering. They are the most successful team in Japanese baseball. They hail from the Tokyo metro area. Here in Bokuyo, they're one of the 2 teams in Tokyo, the other one being the Swallows. And they've been playing their games at the Tokyo Dome since 1988. And the team, of course, is owned by the Yomiuri Shimbun Holdings, the largest media conglomerate in the country. And as a result, they're one of the wealthier teams in Japan. And they're also the oldest professional sports team in the entire country, dating back to 1934. So they're an old team. And they're also the most successful, having won 22 Japan Series titles, in addition to the 9 in the era of the NPB's forerunner, the Japanese Baseball League. Of course, their main rivalry is the Hanshin Tigers. Are their biggest rivals. And they're regarded by many to be the New York Yankees of Japan, which is not unwarranted at all, because they are the most popular team, past dominance, and they are very polarizing with a lot of fans. So very, very polarizing. In fact, most Japanese baseball fans who are different about other teams hate the Giants. However, the Giants also have a large fan base and seems to even have a team of their own. Of course, the Giants are also based in their uniforms are based on the New York Giants, now known as San Francisco Giants, and the orange and black are the same ones worn by the team in San Francisco. So yes, they're inspired by the New York Giants. But the Yomiuri Giants have won 22 Japan series. They actually won, and the 9 they won is the Japanese Baseball League, so they have 31 Japanese baseball titles. They've also won the Central League pennants a whopping 39 times, and appeared in the playoffs 15 times in the Modern Climax series. Which is absolutely crazy to think about. Their success is unprecedentedly big. I mean, when you compare that to the Hanshin Tigers, I mean, it's almost like night and day. Just how much bigger the Yomiuri Giants are. They're much more successful of a baseball team. Of course, they have several rivalries important. We know the Tigers are the big one, and it's actually the most intense professional rivalry in Japanese team sports. And the feud between the two began back in 1936 in Nagoya, Aichi, Japan, at a time when Japanese clubs besides the Tigers did not have set home ballparks and would bounce around every part of the game. And the game would set the tone for the history-setting rivalry as the first home run in Yomiuri Giants club history happened on the days of the Japanese Hall of Fame member Haruyasu Nakajima off their Tigers ace Tadashi Wakabayashi. But ultimately, the Tigers won the game 8-7, and then, of course, the rivalry continued on. It's mostly seen the Giants having long periods of success at the expense of the Hanshin Tigers. However, nowadays, it's been more evenly matched. But so far, the Giants have had more of an edge in both the championships, pennants, overall championships, and the head-to-head record, as the Giants have been beating the Tigers 1127 to 888 with 77 ties. Another rivalry, of course, is with the Tokyo Yakult Swallows, and has been around since their founding in 1950, and it's basically an intercity rivalry, of course. And as a result, it became a pretty intense rivalry, of course. It's been actually a pretty close one. Pretty intense one, of course, but the Giants still dominate the head-to-head rivalry. And then the last rivalry is the oldest professional rivalry in Japanese sports. The oldest one is with the Dragons, of course, dating back to 1936. And of course, many of their teams became a period of success, but maybe the Giants have had a lot more success than the Dragons have been. And have been overall dominant in the rivalry in every other way. So basically, they're all pretty close, of course, as we're comparatively speaking. Comparatively been speaking. Of course, they are known as Japan's team. And it makes sense considering they have been owned by major media conglomerates. The Giants have been known branded as Japan's team. In fact, some years the Giants uniforms had Tokyo in their jersey instead of Yomiuri or Giants, seeming to imply the Giants represent the vast metropolis and geopolitical center of Japan. Even though the Swallows were based in Japan, Tokyo as well, and 3 other teams play in the greater Tokyo area. This bandwagon appeal has been compared to that of the New York Yankees, Real Madrid, and Manchester United. Except the Giants' support nearly exceeds 50% of all those polled. And correspondingly so, fans of other teams often hate the Giants' bandwagon marketing tactics, and an anti-Giants movement exists. In addition, despite the Giants have employed many foreign players over the years, Many Japanese point proudly to the pure-blooded period in 1958 to 1974, despite having no foreign players. And of course, they've also had some corruption too, as the Giants have long been alleged that they use underhand tactics to recruit the best players, including bribes and amateur coaches, or using their influence on the governing council of Japanese baseball to pass rules in their favor. It could be due to corruption. And one such example happened in 2004 when the Yomiuri president resigned when it revealed the club had violated sky rules by paying 2 million yen to pitching prospect Yashiro Ichiba. So, they've been through multiple controversies too. Just like many of the other players, of course. So yes, corruption has been a problem with the Giants, and I guess that probably explains why they've been more dominant than others. Again, it's another side of the corporate side of things. So let's take a look outside of the plane for a bit. We've been in the cockpit for a bit, but yeah, look at the scenery this morning. Look at the state of that. So for this weekend, of course, for our community, Murphy's in New Zealand. Apparently, he's been stuck in New Zealand. Obviously, I hope he's doing all right in New Zealand. I know he's going to be at the Warbirds at Wakanda, Wakana event, but I think I know the real reason he's actually stuck in New Zealand. I think he's stuck in New Zealand because, well, he has small hands, and naturally, he wanted to go meet the Lord of the Rings movie set. That's probably the real reason he's stuck, to find what the Lord of the Rings are at. So pretty fun. Of course, on Saturday is going to be Allison Johnson. She'll be doing one of her flights. She'll be doing a flight across Europe for a community fly-in from England, France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. So she'll be doing that. She'll be going from England, from London, Ashford, and she goes through Belgium, the Netherlands, and back to England, of course. So pretty cool stuff. She'll be back on Sunday. And of course, for us, on Sunday, we got our next national park, Olympic National Park in Washington. So should be a good one for Sunday at 1500 Zulu. So we got that coming up. And speaking about other sports too, college basketball, of course, is going to be a pretty big thing yesterday. So we have the college basketball games going on. So in terms of the Sweet 16, yesterday, Purdue manages to survive against Texas thanks to a buzzer beater. They managed to survive. It was close, but it was a win for Purdue, for the Boilermakers. Then we have Iowa versus Nebraska. And it was down to the wire, but at the end of the day, the Hawkeyes are victorious. They beat them 77-71 to clinch Iowa basketball's first Elite Eight since 1987, which has been something Iowa sports fans have been waiting for a very long time, of course. Then we have Arizona, Arkansas, and it was never close. Arizona absolutely drubbed Arkansas. That game was never close. And finally, Houston versus Illinois was a win for the Fighting Illini. And Illinois made it to the Elite Eight once again. As Illinois once again returns back to the Elite Eight here as well. And finally, of course, would be the other Elite Eight matchups. Duke and St. John should be a good one. I think Duke will probably win that game. Michigan and Alabama should be interesting. Um, but I think Michigan's got it. Michigan State's going to be an interesting one because Louisville did get knocked out by Michigan State. And Iowa State versus Tennessee are the major tournament games this week, obviously. So, should be a good one, though. So some pretty interesting games, of course, for college basketball. Now, as for baseball, for my predictions for the World Series, I think for my preseason predictions for Major League Baseball, I know it's coming up. So, for my predictions on baseball this year, for the MLB, I think the AL East would be won by the Red Sox. Yeah, don't like the Red Sox. Then I think Blue Jays and Yankees both make the playoffs. The Central will be won probably by the Tigers, though I expect the Royals and Guardians are going to be pretty competitive. In the AL West, it's going to be a tough one, but I'm going to go with the AL West won by the Mariners. Though I think the A's could still surprise people this year. For the National League, I think it would be won by the Mets, though I think the Phillies would become incredibly competitive. The Central will probably be the Cubs and Brewers will be the threats. And in the NL West, it's clear the Dodgers. And as for who I think wins the World Series, I'm going with Dodgers, man. That team is just way too stacked. I mean, you have Shohei Ohtani, you have Mookie Betts, Rory Sasaki, Yoshinobu Yamato, Kyle Tucker, Edwin Diaz. You have an absolutely insane team, plus Will Smith and many others. That team is absolutely insane. So of course you all see what's going up to our left. That is Mount Fuji, is straight ahead of us. Everyone that knows about Japan should probably be aware of Mount Fuji. But it is one of Japan's most beloved natural landmarks. It's the highest mountain in all of Japan, dating around 12,388 feet. It is the highest peak in Japan. It's the second highest volcano in any Asian island after Mount Kernitsi in Sumatra, and the seventh highest peak on an island on Earth. Its last eruption was between 1707 to 1708, and it's one of Japan's three holy mountains, of course, along with Mount Tate and Mount Haku. And it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well. And of course, and it's very popular in pop culture, paintings, woodblock prints, poetry, music, film, manga, and anime. It's been a big part. Very well known, beautiful volcano, absolute gorgeous peak. So, of course, our last slide for today, I'm going to go ahead and cover our final two slides. First is the Tokyo Dome. Now, the Tokyo Dome, for those that don't know, is the home of the Yomiuri Giants. It's been their home since 1988, of course. It was designed as a baseball stadium, following its predecessor, Korakuen Stadium, was demolished. In Japan, it's often now used as a unit of size, but this stadium can seat up to its max capacity is 57,000, but for baseball it seats 45,000. And it was developed by Nikon Seikei and modeled after the Humphrey Metrodome. As well. It's also hosted other events, the World Baseball Classic, Major League Baseball has visited here, music concerts, basketball, American football, pro wrestling matches, martial art events, and even monster truck races have been held here at the Tokyo Dome. So it's Tokyo's big arena for all sorts of events. And of course, several major events are the Japanese baseball. And of course, it's hosted many Major League Baseball games. The most famous baseball game held here was in 2019, which were Ichiro's last 2 games of baseball, by the way, played at the Tokyo for his final 2 games before his retirement. Were some of the most famous Major League Baseball games held here. But they hosted tons of concerts. Michael Jackson has played here. Janet Jackson, Guns N' Roses, Madonna, Mariah Carey, and all those have played here in the Tokyo Dome. And of course, even American football is hosted here too. Yes, it's hosted tons of events. And finally, of course, our final slide for today, I'm going to cover our last slide earlier than expected. But I want to cover some of the most famous Yomiuri Giants baseball players. So I'm going to go ahead and cover those now. But bar none, the greatest player to ever play for the team is the Taiwanese-born Sadaharu Oh. This guy is the Hank Aaron of Japanese baseball. What I mean is this guy is baseball's all-time home run king. 868 home runs. No, I'm not bullcrapping. It's real. 868. To put that in perspective, Barry Bonds, who's had the MLB record for home runs, well, he only has 762, so he's technically 107 home runs away from catching Sadaharu Oh. And yes, he's played for his entire baseball career as a member of the Giants as a player. Plus, he also spent time as a manager, and then, of course, he's now the executive at the SoftBank Hawks. But he is the most dominant baseball hitter in Japanese baseball history. He's the greatest player in Japanese baseball. 301 batting average, nearly 2,800 hits, 868 home runs. Yes, that's a real stat. 2,100 runs batted in, and of course, 84 stolen bases. He won the Japan Series 11 times. He won the Central League MVP 9 times. He won the Best Non-Award 18 times. Won the Triple Crown for Japanese baseball twice. And that was just his career as a player. He's also won twice as a manager. And of course, as an executive, he won 8 Japan Series titles with the Hawks. So, and of course, his home run record of 55 held all the way back until to 2013 when Kurokawa and Vladimir Balatin broke the record. So pretty big, but one of the greatest talents. But definitely an icon for the Giants. Another legendary player is Shigeo Nagashima. Was another iconic player for the Giants, a major teammate of Sadaharu Oh. He became another legendary hitter. 305 batting average, 444 home runs, which is really impressive. 2,400 hits, 1,500 RBIs, and he also became a successful manager for the Giants as well. And he's also known as Mr. Giants and Mr. Pro Baseball. And he's regarded as a beloved national figure for post-war Japan. Thanks to his bright personality, endeared him to a lot of the Japanese people. Absolutely beloved, and he mainly played as a third baseman. Yeah, the dude was an absolute mess. He won Central League MVP 5 times. Absolute legend. Then, of course, we have E.G. Sawamura, who actually played for the Giants back in the 30s, of course. And he won the Japanese Baseball Championship 4 times. Unfortunately, he died a bit young, and that was because, of course, he was drafted into the Japanese Army in 1939. And he would be released from duty during his baseball seasons. However, he was actually sunk. He actually died when the SS Hawaii Maru was bound for Borneo, was sunk by the U.S. submarine, the USS Sea Devil, and he was one of those who was actually killed. And he was inducted into the Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame in 1959. Then we have, of course, Tetsuharu Kawakami, known as the Red Bat, of course. Played 18 seasons of Japanese baseball. He did serve in the Japanese military. He won the Japan Series 4 times, a 5-time Central League batting champion, as well as a home run champion, and was a 2-time MVP with over 181 home runs, 1,300 RBIs, and a .313 batting average. So we're going to take a look. This is Mount Fuji, of course. Fiji-san. Look how beautiful she is. That's an absolutely gorgeous peak. Isn't she gorgeous? Isn't she gorgeous? And then we have several other more players for the team. They include Masashi Kaneda, Toshio Kurosama, then of course one of the most famous exports from Japan to baseball to Major League Baseball, Hideki Matsui. Then we have Hayato Sakamoto, Koji Urihara, and many more. Legendary Japanese baseball players who had legendary careers with the Yomiuri Giants. So we're going to make our landing here at Gotemba Airport very shortly for our second leg. We have one more leg left to go. So that covers all our slides here for our Japanese baseball, of course. But yes, lots of very famous teams. Here. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous peak. Mount Fuji, man. That's just so absolutely incredible. What a beautiful, beautiful day. If you guys say so myself. Japanese baseball, definitely really cool. Now, of course, there have been some other very famous players in Japanese baseball, of course. So once we take off, once we land here and we prepare for the next leg. If you guys want to join alongside me, we're on the Southeast Asian server. Here's our route for today. Here's our route and server. Here today. So really cool stuff here for this morning, of course. So there are some other legendary baseball players in Japan, by the way. So we'll park here, obviously. So we'll park here for a bit, prepare for the next leg, and we'll be here for about a couple minutes if anyone else wants to join on in and we'll fly along. So we'll get ready for our next leg. So we're going to go ahead and get ready for our last leg of the flight. We're going to make our way down to Tokyo, obviously, and make our way down to Narita Airport. So this one, we don't need to have a massive leg. We'll start around 3,500 feet. But we can actually go at 3,500 feet. So we're going to go ahead and take off. All power. And we'll be off very, very soon. So we'll be going to 3,500 feet. So we're going to arrive into beautiful Tokyo very soon, Yokohama. So here's some other information tidbits about Japanese baseball, of course. Some of the greatest Japanese baseball players of all time. Now, here's definitely some very iconic baseball legends in the NPB. Um, um, so in terms of major legendary Japanese baseball players, there are so many of them to pick. One of the most famous Japanese baseball players of all time, of course, Ichiro Suzuki. Is Ichiro. Now, if you guys aren't aware about Ichiro Suzuki, you guys all know that Ichiro is one of the greatest baseball players of all time. And he's probably one of the greatest players to ever come to Major League Baseball, of course. But yeah, there have been a lot of NPB players in the United States, actually. Of course, there have been a lot of famous players from the United States and Japan. Now, I talked earlier about, you guys all know I talked about expats and some of the most famous players from Japan from foreign players in the Japanese baseball league. But I want to also talk to you guys a bit about the other way around. Japanese players making their way to Major League Baseball. And there are some very famous baseball players from Japan into Major League Baseball. Of course, there are about 74 Japanese-born players that played in Major League Baseball, and the first instances of a Japanese baseball player occurred in 1964, when they sent 3 exchange products for the United States to gain experience in the minor league system. And the first one of these players was Masanori Murakami. Became the first Japanese-born player in Major League Baseball. And he became a reliever for the San Francisco Giants during his time at age 20, and he struck out over 1 batter per inning pitch, ERA under 4, and earned 8 saves during his time with the Giants, before heading back to Japan, where he continued his success for the next 17 years. As well, and he became a very well-known player in Japan, and he was known for his screwball and all that. But he became a pretty important part of all that sort of stuff. But of course, there are many other well-known players that played. Of course, the first, then the next modern player for the United States was Hideo Nomo, who was a successful all-star for the Kansas City Buffaloes. He even won MVP in 1990, but then he played baseball in the United States with the Dodgers in 1995, when he got around a loophole in the Japanese uniform contract that allowed him to be a free agent by retiring, and he ended up playing for the LA Dodgers, which he had a pretty decent career, though. Became a successful pitcher for the Dodgers, and he became most well known for his forkball. And Nomo's decision to leave for Japan created the post system that's in 1998. Of course, there have been several successful players from Japan that play in the United States. However, far and away the most successful Japanese player to ever play in the United States so far, the greatest Japanese player to ever play for Major League Baseball has got to be Ichiro Suzuki. Now, if you guys don't know about Ichiro, any baseball fans that don't know about Ichiro, you're probably under a pretty big rock. Ichiro Suzuki originally played for the Oryx Blue Wave. And the dude was already a legend even before he got into Major League Baseball. I mean, the dude had a 353 bat average, 1,200 hits, 118 home runs, 529 RBIs, and 198 stolen bases even before he even got to the majors. Oh yeah, he was also a 7-time All-Star, 3-time MVP for the Pacific League, a Gold Glove award 7 times, 7-time Best 9 award, and became a 7-time batting champion, all consecutively. He already had a Hall of Fame career even before he left Japan. And of course, afterwards, when he became a 27-year-old for Major League Baseball, he put on a Hall of Fame career in the United States too. But dude, he won MVP and AL MVP in 2001, a 10-time All-Star, 10-time Gold Glove Award, 2-time batting champion, and he even broke MLB's all single season hit record for 262. And he had over 3,000 hits in Major League Baseball with a 311 batting average. And when you combine the two, Ichiro is baseball's all-time hit king. Yes, he's the all-time hit king in baseball history, in world baseball history. And one of the greatest players of all time. Ichiro was an absolute GOAT. And he's the first Japanese player to be in the National Baseball Hall of Fame in New York. And of course, he should have been unanimously voted to the Hall of Fame. He should have had all 100% of the votes because he deserved 100% of the votes. But yeah, one of the greatest players of all time, number 51. There have been several other really successful Japanese players have been playing Major League Baseball. Hideki Matsui has also been one as well. Hideki Matsui has been another really strong player for Major League Baseball. You have Rory Sasaki, who's been really talented. Yu Darvish has had a very long and successful career in Major League Baseball. However, nowadays, and probably the guy who would take Ichiro's throne as the greatest Japanese baseball player to play for the MLB, Shohei Ohtani. Yep, it's a baseball guy. It's a player that most of us will probably have known at some point. But yes, before he became an Angel and Dodger, Shohei Ohtani actually played baseball for the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. He played it from 2013 to 2017, and he was an absolute menace. The dude was a 5-time All-Star and MVP in 2016, 3-time Best 9 award. And oh yeah, he was both a hitter and a pitcher. He played both hitting and pitching. He was a two-way player. Do you know how rare it is to find a two-way baseball player play the sport? Many people consider him to be comparable to Babe Ruth, except unlike Babe Ruth, who eventually gave up pitching to become a full-time hitter, Shohei is still both of those guys. Then he got posted to the LA Angels, and became an LA Angels for $20 million. And then, of course, he's began his legendary MLB career, where he's been an absolute menace of a baseball player. I mean, the dude's already a 5-time All-Star. He's already a 4-time MVP already. 6-time All-MLB first team. He's already won the World Series twice already. 4-time Silver Slugger Award. And led the league in home runs twice. The dude, if he continues at this ridiculous pace, Shohei Ohtani is going to be the new greatest baseball player of all time. Shohei is just ridiculous. And not only is he a successful hitter, the dude's already a fantastic pitcher too. Is there no limit to what Shohei Ohtani can actually do? The answer is no. there's nothing. There's no limit to Shohei Ohtani. He's just different. Like that's made him one of those impressive players we've ever seen. And mind you, he's still on a contract for $700 million. $700 million contract for 10 years, which is the largest contract in sports history at the time. Absolutely ridiculous. But trust me, Shohei Ohtani is one of those people that is worth every penny. Really cool stuff. So yeah, that is some of the baseball players that have been played for Japan. Just wanted to know and let you guys know about some of the famous Yeah, he is built different. He's different. You don't get players like him. He's like once in a lifetime player. You don't get that. So we're in Yokohama today. So this is Yokohama. And speaking about speed, I'm gonna have to slow down the plane a little. I'm gonna have to slow down this plane a bit. So this is Yokohama. These 3.7 million people. It's actually the second largest city in the country, and this city is the largest port city in the Greater Tokyo area, and it's the headquarters for many companies like Isuzu, Nissan, JVC Kenwood, Koei Tecmo, and the Bank of Yokohama. And of course, it has its own sports team, the Yokohama DNA Bay Stars. Haven't been around since the team's been around since 1950, but they moved to Yokohama in 1993. So this is also newly photogrammetry as well. Really cool. So here's their stadium here, the Yokohama Stadium, which seats 34,000 people. So there's their stadium, of course. Pretty cool. 34,000 seat here. Yeah, look at that. Look at the Yokohama skyline. That's crazy. That's so cool. Japan is so cool. Eek, I'm geeking out. Oh yeah, he just built differently. Oh yeah, one more thing about this stadium too. The dimensions here. So we'll. But yeah. But yeah, some of the distance you can see all this area is part of Japan's port area, of course. I mean, it makes sense. Japan is on an island, so you have a lot of shipping areas here too. Now we're getting to the heart of Tokyo. We now move to Kawasaki. Again, all of this is part of the Tokyo metro area. Is Kawasaki. $1.5 million, and it's mainly known, of course, for heavy factories, heavy industry like Ineos, NEC, Toshiba, and more are built. And of course, if you look to our right, you can see Tokyo Haneda Airport. Of course, this is Tokyo's most historic airport in the city. It's the city's most historic airport dating back to 1931. And it's also Japan's busiest airport in the country. Last year, 85 million people flew out of there in 2024. 85 million flew out of Haneda. Which is crazy. Yeah, millions flood out of Hanada. And now we get into Tokyo itself. Where do I even begin with Tokyo? Where do I even begin with the city of Tokyo, Japan? No, seriously, where do I begin? 14 million people live in Tokyo, one of the largest cities in the area. Its metro area is the most populous in the world. 41 million live in the Tokyo metro area, which if you consider Japan's total population, which is around 120 million people, that's basically a third of the entire country lives in this one metro area in Tokyo, which is insane. And all this considering this once rose to prominence in 1603, now grew to basically one-third of the entire country. Tokyo was the first Asian state to host the Summer Olympics and Paralympics, and it hosted it twice. It's home to the Tokyo Skytree, the tallest tower in the world. And its output, it had generated nearly 887 billion US dollars in 2022. And it's the second largest metro economy in the world after New York. And where do I begin with culture? Tokyo's got everything. A ton of amazing museums and historic landmarks. Amazing place if you're a leisure fan between nightlife, including the nightlife areas, theaters. You have the Electric Town of otaku areas with anime, computer games for the otaku and geeks, geeky culture. And of course, sports, sumo, Tokyo Dome, the Olympics. Tokyo's has gotten everything you would want in a major city. So we'll fly over to check out the. We'll check out the Swallows home stadium at the Meiji Jingu Stadium, which is the home of the Swallows, which seats 37,000 people. So, and they've been pretty successful. The Swallows have won the Japan Series title 8 times. So here we go, guys. So here we go. So here it is, guys, Tokyo. And you guys see in the distance, that is the Tokyo Skytree in the distance, guys. So there's the Skytree here in Tokyo. So over here, of course, is the Meiji Jingu. So there's the Meiji Jingu Stadium. And there's also the rugby stadium here, too. There's the rugby stadium. And there's the National Stadium here, too. There's the National Stadium, and there is the Meiji Jingu Stadium, home of the Swallows. So we're going to go ahead and... And of course, here it is, guys, the Imperial Palace of Japan. Japan's Imperial Palace. So this is the Imperial Palace of Japan. That is the State Guest House. And now we'll be flying over the Imperial Palace of Japan. Well, be careful. I don't want to stall. Don't want to stall the thing. So this is the Imperial Palace here in Tokyo. And oh yeah, there's the old Tokyo Tower here too. So. Isn't this glorious, man? Man, look at Tokyo. And more importantly, and the Tokyo Dome is right here to our left. Our left is the Tokyo Dome. And here's the Tokyo Dome, home of the Giants. So there's that too. Look at Tokyo, man. And of course, here's the Tokyo Sky Tree to our left. But yeah, this is Tokyo, everyone. Wow, this is a marvelous city. It is the ultimate concrete jungle, if you ask me. But I mean, it's got everything. I mean, everything here in this beautiful city. So we'll head down. So we'll head down south. And we say, and there's the Tokyo Sky Tree here too. I mean, Lord Blackguard, hello, my dude. Good to see ya. Sorry to take off the nameplates. I wanted to take some pictures for the Discord. Here's the Discord. If you guys want to join on in my Discord, yeah, look at this place. It's just. Can you guys even believe it? How that 41 million live in this area? Even I'm having a hard time believing it. So we'll go ahead and head down south. So So we'll be flying down here south. And we'll make our way. This is Tokyo Disneyland. Yes, Tokyo has its own Disney. So this is their Disneyland, by the way. And we're going to fly over to Zozo Marine Stadium. That is the home of the Chiba Latte Marines in Chiba City. Dating back to 1949, they're known as the Seagulls. They've won the Japan Series 4 times, most recently in 2010 was their most recent. And they mainly wear black, gray, and white are their team colors, of course. So definitely pretty cool. So we'll arrive in the Chiba Lotte Marine Stadium, Zozo Marine Stadium, which is actually one of the smallest stadiums in the league. 30,000 spectators played here. Of course, Madonna actually once held a show here. The 3 sold-out dates. So here it is, guys. Zozo Marine Stadium in Chiba. So, and Chiba basically is one of the cities in Tokyo Bay, 983,000, and it's one of the primary seaports of Kanto. And so it's a more modern city compared to much of the rest of Tokyo. It's pretty modern in comparison, as it grew mainly as a port region. So we'll get into Chiba, and then we'll head our way over to Tokyo Narita Airport, which used to be the main international gateway into Tokyo, but nowadays Hanada is now more preferred. No worries, I thought my settings were off. No worries, we'll get here as well. So this is Chiba. As you can tell, a major port area. And finally, we're going to make our way over to Tokyo Narita. Yeah, Narita International Airport. It's now actually the secondary international airport serving the Tokyo area, and it was opened back in 1978. However, its conceptualization is actually pretty controversial, leading to a Sani-Rizuka struggle stemming from the government's decision to construct the airport without consulting most residents of the area. As a result, it also had even more issues due to the fact of noise restrictions and all that. Of course, it is the busiest airport in Japan in terms of international passenger and international cargo, as Narita had 33 million passengers in 2018 internationally, and it's the second busiest airport in Japan for aircraft movements. Last year in 2024 served 39 million passengers. And it mainly flies destinations all across the globe. So that's it, everyone. That's our last slides and stuff we'll talk about. We're going to get ready for the landing soon in Narita Airport. I hope you guys enjoyed this stream and learned more about the insights of Japanese baseball. I really have a lot of enjoyment. I can't wait for more baseball-related content here in this play ball. So I already picked the next game day flight. We'll be doing next Friday, of course, will be our next game day flight, and we're going to be heading over to France for our next game day flight. Yes, we're going to be in France actually, and we're going to be covering, of course, we're going to be covering AS Monaco. We're actually going to cover France for the first time. And it's the question, is it going to be Lille versus Lens or AS Monaco and or AS Monaco Marseille? Because both these teams are both really on the top half of their leagues. They're pretty much similar. So the question is, do I go with Lens or do I go with Monaco and Marseille? So I don't know. I'll let you guys know which the two, but it's definitely going to be in France. And the French league's shaping up pretty nicely, of course. So yeah, I'll let you guys know which one is going to be. So here we go, guys. So here we go, guys. Here we go. Landing gear. And we're about to make the landing here at Tokyo Narita Airport. So hey, we got, let's see what we got. Oh, we got a Pack Duck Finder. Good to see you. Oh, nice. PS5. Oh, that's right. A lot of people don't realize PlayStation. Good to see you, Pappy Duck Finder. I hope you're doing well. We're about to reach the end of our stream. We did a Japanese baseball related stream today for our game day flight. The Hanshin Tigers and Yomiuri Giants in honor of baseball's opening day. And we decided to do. No worries, Pappy Duck Finder. I appreciate you coming here in for the fall. Thank you a lot. No worries, my dude. Don't worry about it too much. I definitely appreciate you joining me for the fight. I appreciate you joining me. Maybe next time we'll get to, maybe the next Friday or next time I stream, maybe you guys join me. But no, you're good. Trust me, you're not the first person to come at the end of my stream and stuff. But you're good. So we're gonna land here and we're going to wrap everything up here. So you fly the 747 in the group flight. Oh, no worries. So that's it, everyone. I hope you guys enjoy our flight in Japan today. Absolutely gorgeous flying into Japan as always. Always love flying in Japan. So we'll be back Sunday for our next stream in Olympic National Park in Washington. So we'll see you in Astoria Regional. we're gonna find someone to raid. I'm gonna find someone if that's okay. Let's see. Nightwolf, Captain Rock Savage. Let's see. Kenko's doing the TriStar. You know, we'll raid Nightwolf 49. Yeah, he's got a little bit of a buddy too. So we're gonna raid Nightwolf 49, I hope. So I hope you guys enjoyed your stream here today. Stick around for the raid, and we'll see you all soon. Take care, everyone, and have a fantastic start to your weekend. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.